It's Tuesday, March 18th. Breaking news from Gaza. Hospitals in Gaza overwhelmed by a wave of new airstrikes by Israel. Reports this hour say at least 330 people have been killed.
I think what it shows, what we can do collectively in creating change, and
sadness and relief. Officials in Manitoba identify the remains of Mercedes Myron after they were found in a landfill near Winnipeg. The remains of Morgan Harris were identified earlier this month.
They've got landlords chasing them, suppliers chasing them. I think this is the end.
The last Bay Days could be here as Canada's oldest company starts to sell off its inventory, perhaps as early as today.
Nobody's learning math and English when there's bats flying around. Let's just say that.
And how many bats are too many at a school? One? Well, this school in New Brunswick had at least 13 flying around. Stay with us, Canada. Your morning starts right now. Good morning, Canada. Welcome to Your Morning. I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lindsey Deluce.
And good morning. I'm Winston C. in for Kelsey. Today, we hope your day is off to a good start. What day is it?
Tuesday.
Yes.
And you're back.
And you're back.
I'm back.
Welcome.
Epic journey.
Guys, what happened? We had a new prime minister.
I know. It's like, anything happened while I was gone?
I know.
It is so nice to see you. Had a great trip.
Nice. And you did too. We've both been gone.
I know. That is March, though, isn't it? Winston, great to have you as well. Obviously, lots of news to start this Tuesday morning. So let's jump right in. Breaking news from the Middle East, where at least 330 people have been killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. This is the biggest wave of Israeli airstrikes since the ceasefire came into effect in January. This morning, Israel has issued new evacuation orders for several areas along the Gaza border, telling people to move to western Gaza City and Khan Yunis immediately. Israel says it's carrying out the strikes after talks to extend the ceasefire failed. The families of several Israelis still being held hostage by Hamas are now reacting, accusing the Israeli government of giving up on the hostages by dismantling the process of their return. Israel says 59 hostages are still being held in Gaza, with 24 of them believed to be alive. Prime Minister Mark Carney will stop in Iqaluit today to reaffirm Canada's Arctic sovereignty after his pretty short trip to Europe.
I don't think one needs to respond to every comment about another country. Look, we can stand up for ourselves. It's Canada strong. We can stand up for ourselves.
Prime Minister Carney met with King Charles and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer last night after meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron earlier in the day. He called the talks with leaders in the UK and France constructive. He also said for the first time that Canada is limited in how far it really can go in matching U.S. tariffs dollar for dollar, given the relative size of our economy. Prime Minister Carney said his talks with France and with the UK also covered support for Ukraine and diversifying Canada's military supply chains. He also agreed to a new security partnership with France that includes sharing intelligence. The family of Mercedes Myron says they now have some closure after confirmation that her remains were those found in the Prairie Green landfill near Winnipeg.
We've been able to bring these women home.
The remains of Mercedes Myron and Morgan Harris were found at the landfill at the end of February. Harris's remains were identified March 7th, and now it has been confirmed Myron has been found as well. Both women were killed by a convicted serial killer in 2022. The killer was also found guilty of murdering Rebecca Comtois and another woman known as Buffalo Woman. Partial remains of Comtois were found in Winnipeg in 2022. Buffalo Woman has never been found. Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew says the search of the landfill will continue in the hopes of finding more remains. Hudson's Bay could start liquidating all of its stores across Canada today, although its lawyer says they're still hoping to find a way to save part of the business.
In a full liquidation, if all the stores are shut down and nothing gets acquired by another purchaser, then generally there's massive job loss, pension plan wind-ups. It's the shutdown of a company.
The liquidation would include all 80 Bay locations, and some of it Saks Fifth Avenue and Saks off-Fifth stores. The process is expected to take 10 to 12 weeks. During that time, the company will keep trying to find the money to keep some of it open. This lifeline could come from a new buyer or from selling some property or leases. The end of Canada's oldest company could also mean the loss of more than 9,000 jobs. The sale is waiting for the green light from the judge, and that could come at some point today. We have an update to the story of a deadly house fire in Oshawa last week. A 12-year-old girl has now died. So sad. Sigalit Breska has died in hospital. Her mom, Vivian, and her 9-year-old sister, Eilert, died in the fire last week. Her father, Joseph, was hurt, but he's expected to survive. Ontario's fire marshal is finished the investigation on scene. Crews are still working on identifying the cause. Spring flooding is causing major problems in parts of Quebec and Ontario. So heavy rain and the milder temperatures have really pushed several rivers over their banks. Drummondville, about halfway between Quebec City and Montreal, has declared a state of alert. Jammed ice is causing the St. Francois River to rise, sending water into homes and businesses. People have been forced out of about 300 homes in the city. Oh, look at that. Oh, I'm sorry. Floodwater has also forced evacuations, road and school closures in Beauceville, and some people were forced out of their homes near the experimental farm in Ottawa. Look at that flow. Whoa. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre says if elected, he will get rid of the industrial portion of the carbon tax.
A common sense, Canada First Conservative government will repeal the entire carbon tax, including the federal backstop that requires provinces impose industrial taxes.
Poilievre says his plan would remove federal carbon pricing for big industrial polluters. It would also allow provinces to handle industrial emissions as they see fit. Only 4 provinces and territories apply the federal industrial carbon price. Prime Minister Mark Carney has already scrapped the consumer portion of the carbon tax. That was his first act as Prime Minister. You've heard of snow days, but this school in Plaster Rock, New Brunswick was forced to call a bat day.
So if it tells me that 13 bats are flying through the school today, how many's in that attic? Is it 3,000? Is it 300? That's concerning.
Class let out early at Topic Valley Middle High School after 13 brown bats were found in the building. 13, lucky number 13. The school board says they've now been removed. That's good. There will be an inspection today, though, to see if the school needs to stay closed for a second day. Bats are not a new problem at the school. Apparently, the school has been trying to address this problem for years, including what the district calls a large remediation last year. The board is also working on a plan in case an extended closure is necessary. It's always the right time for a nice bowl of chili.
It's a little bit spicy, mild white bean and tomato chili, Manitoba local tomatoes, and fresh tortilla chips from our neighbors over here at Los Camales.
I love chili. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks so good. 10 chefs faced off for the 3rd annual chili cook-off at Winnipeg St. Norbert's Farmers Market. It's a chance for the chefs to show off their cooking chops, their chili chops, as well as an opportunity to showcase, local ingredients, which is always great. All proceeds from the cook-off will go to the winning chef's charity of choice.